Hi there, Anirudh here. This is my video assessment based on the Långban mines in Sweden. And here we are. So, to begin with, we're going to start with the introduction, following which we're going to go to the scientific values, which includes representativeness, integrity, scientific knowledge, and others. And then the degradation risks and any other form of threats that threaten the site, the general location of where it is using Google Earth Pro, and finally, the references. It is situated near Lake Långban in southwestern central Sweden and was mined between the years 1711 to 1972 until it was decided to close the mine and it hence got flooded with water. It is one of the most richest sources of minerals in the whole world, given that 300 different types of minerals were found here and over 70 of them were found in Långban for the first time, making this their type locality. And it is home to some of the most unique minerals in the world, such as philipstadite, friedite, hitsioite, ingersonite, philolithite, and so much more. It was mainly mined for manganese and iron ore, but then after the year 1950, only dolomite was extracted. The manganese iron ore deposits are heavily metamorphosed, have complex skarns and pegmatites, and that is the reason why the site exhibits a really large geological diversity. As for the scientific values, it bleeds them. When it comes to representativeness, it embodies the value of representativeness in that the rocks belong to four divisions of time, that is, the supercrustal formation, the older Archean granites and greenstones, the younger Archean granites and greenstones, and diabase dikes. It thus has a rating of 4. A key locality. The site holds global importance for possessing unique and diverse mineralogy, and it continues to be a key locality in that aspect. Rarity. As already discussed, rare and unique minerals continue to be found at the site, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. As for integrity, despite the fact that the mine closed in 1972, the closure of the mine caused water to flood in and completely submerge the mine. Although it preserved the mine for the last 50 years, the heavy extractive uses over the centuries has to a certain extent destroyed the character of the mine. It thus deserves a rating of 3. Geological diversity. It's a perfect example of a place with geological diversity, partly because of the different divisions of rocks they represent, and also because of the supercrustal formation that comprises of a number of rocks such as halophantas, leptites, limestones, dolomites, and spilitic greenstones. The rocks show a great variation in structure and in their chemical and mineralogical composition. As mentioned, the manganese iron ore deposits are heavily metamorphosed to change the original rocks. It thus exhibits really a lot of geological diversity. Scientific knowledge. There are numerous papers published and is recognized by mineralogists all over the world and by different mineralogist societies worldwide, and research continues to occur on the site. Again, it deserves a rating of 4.
Use limitations. Although much of the mine is submerged underwater, there are mineral-rich dumps present outside the site of the old mine. Something I'll get into in the coming minutes. I'll explain more in detail. So, the geosite has very few legal or physical barriers that can prevent sampling or fieldwork out there, and the mineral-rich dumps are a great source of them to study, and yeah, that would deserve a rating of 4. Besides the fact that Långban is a geological site, Långban is also a mining heritage site, with the old mine buildings and smelters still present from the time Långban used to be in operation. The main geological attraction at Långban happens to be the mineral-rich waste dumps used at the time of operation that cover parts of the region. Now, if you look at the map, the tiny box you see is the only part of the mine that is fenced off and is off bounds. The larger green box beside that is preserved more for biological reasons other than protecting the mineral-rich dumps. Now, much of the area around Långban on both sides of the road, where you can see me pointing out, are still left unprotected. The larger parts, which are still left unprotected, is often visited by geology amateurs and professionals who are actively involved in the collection of samples and field work for the purpose of research. The Långban Society, which is focused on the geology, mineralogy, and history of the deposits of Långban, undertake regular dump digging operations to discover something new. Yes, it's a society operating the machine, it's not a commercial one. So, when it comes to the deterioration of geological elements, the possibility is 3. And when it comes to its proximity to activities that cause degradation, it gives it a rating of 4. Legal protection. Although Swedish law mandates that it's prohibited to collect at certain places in Långban, it does not cover the entire area of the mine, the deposits, and the surrounding areas, and there's a great possibility of exploitation. And the fact that it does not have an IUGS or IUCN classification makes it imperative to get it one. I gave it a rating of 4 because there is inadequate legal protection. Accessibility. The crucial parts of the mining area is easily accessible by road in that there's a parking site about 200 to 300 meters away from the site. A rating of 3. Density of population. The village surrounding the mine has only 50 inhabitants and doesn't pose a big risk. A rating of 1. Another risk is the presence of invasive plant species, such as the silver birch. Species such as birch are very much like weeds. They multiply rapidly and can eat up all the minerals and nutrients, which could leave the mineral-rich dumps devoid of the minerals, and that poses a big threat to the mine. One other threat is the weather. The old buildings at the site have not been maintained properly, the same ones which I displayed earlier in this video. And given that 5 decades have gone past, they, along with the mine itself, can be damaged by harsh autumns and winters if steps aren't taken to preserve them today. If I were to quantitatively assess the site on the basis of its scientific value, I would give it a rating of 345. Now, I would like to amend something. I had earlier said the key locality was a rating of 4, but in reality it's a rating of 2. I give it a rating of 2 and not 4 because if I were give it a rating of 4, it would be an IUGS or an IMA reference site, which Långban is not. It does not have an IUGS classification, and that is the thing that I would like to appeal in this video. So it has a rating of 345, and when it comes to the degradation risks over here, I would give it a rating of 320. I broke down the proximity to areas, activities with potential to cause degradation by 15 and the legal protection to 15, and gave ratings to invasive species and weather and lack of maintenance a 5 each, and gave them each a score of 4 and made them 320 because the site is at huge risk. So, in light of the quantitative assessment of the scientific values and the degradation risk, I can say that the site is in a high risk of degradation, and it's imperative that it requires an IUGS classification and that it's preserved. And yeah, I rest my case. Thank you.